Late in the evening, Abigail is practicing ballet in an empty theater. Meanwhile, a group of criminals is preparing to kidnap her. The hacker disables the security cameras at Abigail's house, and the sniper climbs onto the roof. When Abigail leaves the theater, her driver picks her up, not knowing that the criminals have placed a tracker on the car. As the car moves, the kidnappers follow. The hacker unlocks the house doors, and 3 criminals hide in Abigail's bedroom. One of the criminals, a woman, hesitates because she doesn't usually harm children, but the others tell her to continue. When Abigail arrives home and gets into bed, the criminals make their move. One man tries to hold her down, but Abigail stabs his hand with a pencil. Another man takes over and covers her mouth, while the woman stops the first man from hurting Abigail further. The woman then injects Abigail with a sedative, putting her to sleep. Outside, the other half of the team warns the group inside that a car is approaching. The sniper watches the incoming car as the trio inside the house quickly puts Abigail into a bag and sneaks out through a window. They cross the garden and join the sniper, but the alarms go off and they have to run. Fortunately, the last 2 criminals pick them up just in time, and they escape without issues. During the ride, they check Abigail's pulse to make sure she's fine and blindfold her. When they're about to reach a traffic, the hacker tells the driver to take a different road, but the driver makes a sudden turn and hides the van behind a big truck. Eventually, they make it to their destination, which is an old abandoned mansion outside the city. There they meet with Lambert, the guy that hired them. After they handcuff Abigail to a bed, Lambert reminds the group of the rules. They mustn't share any names or backstories, and they should avoid getting naughty among themselves. It's a 24-hour job, so they must babysit Abigail until her rich dad sends the $50 million. Lambert doesn't tell them who the dad is, but he does collect everyone's phones to avoid hitting tracked. Before leaving, Lambert gives each team member a code name inspired by the Rat Pack. Afterward, the team begins enjoying all the drinks in the house. Joey refuses to share her candy with Dean, who pretends to be smart and tries to guess everyone's backstory, but he fails. When Joey mocks him, the others bet some money to see if she can do better, and by reading their body language, clothes, and personalities, she guesses all correctly. Frank used to be a detective. Peter is a demoted mob enforcer. The hacker Sammy comes from money and is doing this for fun. Rickles is a former Marine sniper, and Dean is a sociopath driver. Frank realizes Joey is a recovering addict. Joey checks on Abigail, who complains about her tight blindfold. Joey covers her face, removes the blindfold, and recuffs her hands in front because the handcuffs were hurting her. Abigail is crying, so Joey reassures her they won't hurt her and just want money. Abigail makes Joey do a pinky promise. Joey shares that she has a son, and Abigail says her father doesn't care about her. As Joey leaves, Abigail says she's sorry for what's going to happen to her, worrying Joey. Joey tells Frank that Abigail's father might be violent, but Frank dismisses it as Abigail trying to make Joey feel bad. Frank checks on Abigail and is shocked to see her without the blindfold. He covers his face, points his gun at her, and makes her swear she didn't see him. Frank pressures Abigail until she reveals her dad is Christoph Laser, a powerful crime boss. Frank panics and tells the group he's leaving. Joey and Rickles recognize the name and share Frank's concern. An argument ensues, but they decide to stay, get the money, and then escape. They agree to watch the perimeter and keep all doors closed. Later, Joey hears a noise and finds an open window. While closing it, she sees an old statue of a father and child. She bumps into Rickles, who tries to flirt with her and fails. He tells her he doesn't trust the others, and they agree to watch each other's backs. Meanwhile, Sammy finds a room with TV and is suddenly startled by a presence behind her. But it's just Dean playing a prank. He has the nerve to try flirting with Sammy, who furiously kicks him out. Then Dean finds a sleeping Peter and draws a man's member on his face. He keeps wandering around the house and enters a dark corridor with tons of old pictures, including one with a girl that looks a lot like Abigail. Next, he goes to the basement kitchen, where a door opens by itself. Confused, he enters the room and gets startled by a rat. As he tries to leave, suddenly, an unseen presence grabs him by the legs and pulls him back. Sammy hears his screaming and goes to the basement, where she finds Dean sitting at the table. When she tries to approach him, his head falls, and Sammy screams before puking. Soon the others make it to the basement too, and they agree Sammy doesn't have the strength to do that. In fact, it reminds them of the stories about Lazarus' hitman called Valdez. Several years ago, 3 top members of Lazarus' gang were captured by the FBI. The night before their trial, they were kept hidden on the top floor of a hotel with agents guarding every corner. The next morning, the FBI stormed in and found their bodies with their heads cut off. There was no way in or out of the room except for the door on the 23rd floor. Getting worried, they decide to check on the girl and find her well in the room. Rickles is still scared of Valdez and wants to leave, but when he opens the front door, they're shocked to discover another barred gate. Theater tries to push it open to no avail, and this triggers a security system that covers all the windows, meaning the group is now stuck inside. Joey concludes this as a trap, and Rickles runs to check on his weapon, only to find a gun. Joey rushes to Abigail and asks if she's seen anybody else besides her and Frank, but Abigail swears she hasn't. She also shares that Frank threatened to harm her, that he said he worked for her dad, and that his real name was Valdez. Afterward, Joey meets with Rickles, and they both share what they know, concluding it doesn't make sense. They agree to look for a way out, but Joey hears a noise as she tries to leave the room. She checks on Rickles and finds him severely injured. His dead body falls into her arms, and she rushes downstairs, furious, and aims her gun at Frank, accusing him of killing Rickles. Frank pulls out his gun and says Joey is being manipulated by Abigail. He asks Peter to deal with Abigail, so Peter goes to her room to kill her. Before Peter can shoot, Joey arrives and disarms him. Sammy and Frank also come in, leading to an argument. Meanwhile, Abigail easily removes her handcuffs and stands up, revealing she is actually a vampire using a ballet move. Abigail jumps on Peter, about to bite him, but Frank shoots her down. To everyone's shock, Abigail gets up as the wound heals itself. Joey shoots her too, but the bullets have no effect, so they run and lock the door. The group realizes Abigail was Valdez all along. They discuss what to do, noting that the doors have magnetically sealed locks and thick shutters that can't be broken. Sammy doesn't have the equipment to hack them. Tensions rise, and Frank threatens Peter to make him shut up. Frank and Joey grab pool sticks to make steaks, while Sammy looks for garlic in the kitchen. Joey hesitates, thinking killing Abigail would anger her dad. Once ready, the trio rushes into Abigail's room, but find it empty. Suddenly, they hear music, so they go into another room, where they find Abigail dancing with Dean's body. At first, she pretends to be a sweet girl, but when Sammy attacks, Abigail jumps on her and sniffs the garlic, which does nothing. Frank is pushed off when he tries to help, but Peter manages to pick her up. However, Abigail easily throws him to the ground and takes the cross from his necklace, hitting his chest with it to make him bleed, and confirming crosses don't affect her either. Next, Frank tries to stab her from behind. However, Abigail quickly disarms him and stabs his leg instead. Giving up, the trio goes back downstairs, where Joey helps them with their wounds. She reminds them that the injection did work when they kidnapped Abigail, and they still have a spare injection. They agree to split up, and whoever finds the girl first must inform Joey through their earpieces so she can surprise her with a syringe. The group starts searching the house, and Sammy takes a dirty quarter, where she's startled by a bunch of bats. This causes her to fall in a pool, and she screams when she realizes it's filled with rotting bodies. Even worse, she has to crawl on them to get out. Abigail surprises Peter, who locks the door behind him, but she breaks through and chases him with ballet moves. Frank opens a door, causing Peter to fall. Abigail then chases Frank, pushing him down the stairs and sitting on him. Joey tries to inject her, but Abigail knocks the syringe away. Sammy pulls Abigail off Frank, but Abigail bites her arm. Abigail then grabs Frank and starts flying, but Peter tackles her, making her drop Frank. Joey retrieves the syringe and sedates Abigail, who makes threats before passing out. Sammy worries about the bite. Abigail wakes up locked in an elevator. Joey asks how to escape, but Abigail reveals she planned everything and knows their real identities. She explains that Lambert works for her and details each person's criminal past. Sammy stole money from her rich parents. Peter was muscle for a crime family. Frank infiltrated a crime family as a detective. And Joey is a former army medic turned underground doctor due to addiction. One day, she accidentally killed a gang member while trying to remove a bullet. It turns out everyone here wronged Laser or his gang in some way, and Joey says Abigail kills her dad's enemies just to make him love her. Abigail didn't kill them as soon as they arrive because she likes playing with her food. She says that if they let her out, she'll let two of them live. Frank suggests killing her, so an angry Abigail changes the offer to only saving the one that gets her out. Peter quickly takes out his gun, and Joey does the same as she and Frank. Explain Abigail is lying, since Peter tries to free her anyway. Joey shoots him. Then the group leaves except for Frank, who volunteers to keep guard. After everyone's gone, Frank says that he'll let her go if she tells him how to get out of the house. Abigail explains that he must pull Agatha Christie's book in the library to open a secret door. Frank thanks her but refuses to release her, so Abigail easily breaks the door to push him and dances toward him. At that moment, Joey arrives and breaks wooden planks off a window, allowing the sunlight in. The light instantly burns off Abigail's hand, and she runs to hide in the shadows so she can regrow it while Joey and Frank run away. The entire group makes it to the library and stays under the sunlight, entering through the high window Joey opened early. Sammy doesn't turn into a vampire, so she's relieved. Frank checks the book Abigail mentioned, but it was a lie, and nothing happens. While Frank throws a tantrum, Joey tries to break down the wall, but fails and gets anxious due to running out of candy. Joey tells Sammy she left her son to get clean and planned to use the job's money to start over with him. The word reset gives Sammy an idea: find the power source and short the locks. The team splits up to search the house. Abigail starts playing music and controls Sammy through her bite, turning Sammy into a vampire. Sammy attacks and kills Peter by biting his neck, then dances under Abigail's control. When Joey and Frank arrive, Sammy hides her face, but when they become suspicious, she reveals her transformation, making them run away. Sammy chases them to the library, where Abigail uses Sammy's voice to reveal her hatred for the room, as it's where her father turned her. Joey uses a tray to reflect sunlight onto Sammy, causing her to explode. A secret door opens, and despite thinking it's a trap, Joey and Frank decide to go through it. After going through a corridor, they find the mansion's control in Lambert, who is a vampire too. Lambert grabs Joey by the neck while he explains everything. Abigail turned him 2 years ago when she found out that he helped Frank infiltrate the gang. She also threatened his family, and now all he does is bring all her father's enemies here so she can play. He's already notified Lazar about the situation, and he's on his way to the mansion. Lambert wants to kill both Abigail and her dad, so he offers to turn Frank if he promises to help. Frank agrees, so Lambert knocks Joey out and bites Frank. Once Lambert makes Frank drink his blood, and Joey wakes up to watch Frank painfully transform into a vampire. Afterward, Lambert tells Frank to feed on Joey. However, Frank stabs him with a stake instead, causing Lambert to explode. At that moment, Abigail arrives and tries to attack, but Frank overpowers her and drinks her blood. Joey reaches the control panel, deactivates the security measures, and retrieves her phone. However, the exit is locked. Frank finishes feeding on Abigail and drops her body. Joey calls her son, leaving a heartful voicemail. Frank finds Joey and pushes her into the library, throwing her around. Joey's punches are ineffective. He grabs her by the neck and throws her down, but Abigail catches her. Abigail, weakened, asks Joey to help kill Frank, promising to let her go to see her son. Frank approaches and Joey and Abigail team up to fight him, but he is stronger. He knocks Abigail down and stabs Joey in the shoulder, pinning her to a pillar. Frank continues fighting Abigail, biting her again. Abigail raises her pinky to remind Joey of their promise. After defeating Abigail, Frank removes Joey from the stake, bites her neck, and throws her on the floor. When Joey wakes up, Frank uses his vampire powers to force her to pick up the stake and go after Abigail. Joey pretends to follow Frank's orders, but then turns and pushes him, giving Abigail the chance to attack. Abigail explains that Frank can't control or transform Joey yet because his powers haven't fully developed. While they're distracted, Joey grabs the stake and pulls Frank down. She and Abigail team up to stab Frank, making him explode. Afterward, Joey worries about transforming into a vampire, but Abigail assures her it won't happen because Frank is dead. Abigail keeps her promise and lets Joey go, telling her to find her son. Suddenly, Abigail's father, Laser, appears. He wants to kill Joey, but Abigail defends her, saying Joey saved her life and was there when Laser wasn't. Laser thanks Joey and lets her go. Joey rushes back to the van and finds a lollipop, eating it while driving away.